again, I look at this and I don't even care about the price. I just look at these satoshis, and I don't think the game starts until we hit $1 million Bitcoin. And at that point, you'll still be able to get 100 units of this finite money for $1.
Completely changed my outlook on life. I'm now wanting to be a hustler and a grinder because I understand that my dollars aren't just something to spend and consume, but something to save for the future, provide for not only my wife but my future kids. Like, I'm trying to build, generational wealth in some sense.
If you don't have Bitcoin at all, right, smash by 1 million satoshis today. Become a Satoshi millionaire today. All right, and I'm telling you, won't regret it.
Alrighty, guys, we are back with Jerry Loves Freedom. Welcome to the show, Jerry. How's it going?
It's going good, man. Thanks for having me, brother. How are you?
Yeah, good. Super, super keen to have you on. It's early in the morning again for me, but we're rocking the same hat to the t-shirt match. So the evolution of money, and it ends with Bitcoin. So I think we're going into that phase now, and it's pretty cool to see that unpacked.
You got to zoom in on that hat, bro.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll pull it up on the. It's basically Jerry's t-shirt on my hat. So if you can read his, you can read mine, guys. So just to kick off, tell us a little bit about your sort of your backstory. What led you to Jerry Loves Freedom as the channel, and then what led you to Bitcoin?
Sure. I've been doing this since September 20th, 2020, and I got into precious metals first, right? I got into precious metals in the summer of 2020, and I remember in fact, I'm going to back up to 2019. I needed to buy a car, and I had the cash in the bank, and the let's just say the bank was not keen on giving me my money, quote unquote, currency, to buy the car. They're asking me all these questions and blah blah blah, giving me the third degree, and I'm just like, wait a minute, this is my money, right? And then around the same time, my friend kept telling me about gold, and I ignored him. I said, gold is stupid. I'm from like the Warren Buffett school. And I'm like, oh, gold is just a pet rock. It's not doing anything. Blah blah blah. Blah. I need to buy real estate. I need to buy this, and that, and flip my money and all this other stuff. And then finally, during the scamdemic or pandemic, excuse me, I misspoke. YouTube. Um, I had a chance to sit down and not do anything. And so my friend, he goes, hey man, do you know where this gold shop is in this town? I said, yeah, it was my town. And my friend lived in Arkansas. What he did with me, he tricked me. He ordered some gold and silver in my town for me to pick it up. And then once I went there to pick it up, I was just hooked, dude. I was hooked. I picked that thing up and I was like, wow, like how heavy it was. And then I just started deep diving into money. I have a finance background because I wanted to be a personal financial advisor, which I kind of am now. And then once I learned about the money being broken, I was just like, wow, gold and silver are the way. And then in my journeys with the gold and silver, the algorithms show you cryptocurrencies and all these other stuff. And I heard about Bitcoin before, but I was just like, oh, that's just digital dust. That's magic fairy dust. Doesn't mean anything. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's what the precious metals guys were telling me. But then I took a deep dive, man, late 2020. Fourth quarter 2020, I started looking into the cryptocurrencies, and I looked and I looked. And then I remember the price kept going up, but I was like being pulled both ways. One, I was like, this makes sense. And some of the precious metal guys and the people from finance that I used to listen to were telling me that Bitcoin and crypto is the future. It's a digital money. I was like, nah, I'm an old school guy. I'm 40 something years old. I need to stick with the physical, real stuff. That stuff is not real. And then I started really looking into it, and then the price kept going up and up and up. And then finally, I made my first buy on February 21st, 2021, excuse me. And then I wasn't a full Bitcoin maxi. I had a few S coins. And then 2 months later, in the process of listening to Robert Breedlove, Robert Kiyosaki a little bit, but mostly Michael Saylor and the like, exactly 2 months later, I sold all my S coins and put it into Bitcoin. And then I still had my precious metals. I was doing my thing, and I was buying precious metals. I was buying Bitcoin at the same time. My channel was being called all different kind of things. I called it Jerry Loves Gold, Silver, and Bitcoin. Jerry Loves Gold and Silver. Jerry Loves Gold, Silver, Platinum. All these things. And then finally I go, well, why do I like these things, right? I like all these things because I love freedom. Bottom line. So I was like, why don't I just call myself Jerry Loves Freedom? And what's so funny is the same exact day that Matthew Cratter changed his name, and this was not done on purpose. Matthew Cratter changed his name from Trader University to Bitcoin University the exact same day I changed my channel to Jerry Loves Freedom in like 2023. So I thought that was pretty cool. And so finally, um, as I was getting down more down the rabbit holes, almost like gold and silver was kind of like a like preschool or kindergarten school compared to what I learned from Bitcoin about what money is and what the real answer was. And then finally, I was just like, wow, this is the way. There's no other way to save. So I started slowly but surely selling off my silver, selling off my gold, and I was holding on to the very, very precious silver, like the ones that weren't making anymore, like the Engelhard bars, constitutional silver, and the like. And then finally, fourth quarter 2023, I just went all in, and I realized that Bitcoin is the best way to save, and for me, the only way to save. And since the fourth quarter of 2023, I've been nothing but Bitcoin.
Was it kind of hard letting go of the previous system? Hard of letting go of the gold, the silver, the old cryptos? Was it easy, or like at that stage is it just like I'm all in, baby, let's do it? I'm super excited, or were you just like, damn, I'm actually leaving the old system, joining the new system? Was that hard to let go of?
Very hard. Very hard. Again, I was in my, I'm 50 now, but I was in my mid to late 40s, and I'm a guy that grew up with physical things, and it was very hard for me to adapt to the digital stuff. Even though I have a phone, I have digital pictures and stuff like that, but I do like Polaroid pictures. I do like my DVDs. I do like my stuff. But at the end of the day, we're in a digital world, and the world needs a digital money. And it was tough for me because as I was learning, when I started learning in late fourth quarter 2020, and then when I bought in 2021, I was still, everything was based on gold and silver on top, and then everything else was Bitcoin. I remember I sold Bitcoin twice in the process because I thought I was doing a deal. Bitcoin had went up and silver went down. And so I thought I was, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill this. So I sold a little bit of Bitcoin, put it into silver both times, and I was like, yeah, because that's the main thing, my gold and silver. But then month after month, Joey, I was just like, man, this thing is very, very scarce. And I had to ask myself when I had some gold and silver, I was like, okay, well, I have it. It's very, very finite compared and scarce and rare compared to the fiat dollars. And I knew that money is supposed to be hard to get, and gold and silver is hard to get. But is it as hard to get as Bitcoin is? And I had to ask myself, what percentage of the money supply do I own of my precious metals? Because the inflation rate of it is going up every year, and as technology went up, um, and the demand goes up, that means the supply is going to have to go up, and it will go up based on the technology and the demand. The difference between that and Bitcoin is Bitcoin doesn't care about the technology or the demand. That supply curve or that supply lever never changes. So once that really hit me, because my favorite gold and silver, or silver in particular, was the kind they weren't making anymore. The Engelhard bars, the constitutional silver, I absolutely loved that stuff because it was harder money that they're not making it. And human beings, whether we know this or not, we have this innate thing inside of us that we want the thing that's more rare. And so when I really looked at it in a digital form, Bitcoin is the most rare thing on the planet, not just money, just the most rare thing on the planet. And then I said, wow. And it was difficult for me at first over the few months and the years, but eventually, once I got to it, and I still miss my silver and gold and stuff like that because I miss playing with it. But now that I understand it and fully aware of it, I'm so glad I did it. But yes, it was difficult in the beginning to the end stages.
Yeah, I didn't swap for me, it was just crypto. I didn't even get a chance to go down the rabbit hole of real estate or gold or silver being only 21. But for me, as soon as I realized these other tokens could just be altered, their supply at any given time, the people that are holding and creating these coins really do have so much control. It's so centralized. Even things with, the biggest seller of XRP is Ripple Labs, which created XRP. So there's actually a fundamental problem with someone having control of a supply. And all these currencies in my head, they were initially, okay, well, if the dollar's losing that much value, then I should just speculate. I should just gamble. I should just buy these cryptos, these S coins, in hope that I can generate more fiat, because I understood if the fiat's going to sit there, it's going to lose value. So I might as well take a chance. You know what I mean? And then as soon as I realized Bitcoin had a scarce supply, and it was still in this digital world, this world that I wanted to enter, this world that I knew would compete with, US dollars or Aussie dollars, then I went all in on Bitcoin. That's when I started to make that shift. And I leaked it slowly. I couldn't let go of some of these big bags of S coins I had for a long time. But for me, it was the scarcity, understanding that Bitcoin's actually difficult to get, whereas the rest was basically printed just as much as dollars, just digitally printed. And yeah, it's just a huge shift of mind. And I think I took a lot longer than you. For you to go from S coins to Bitcoin in like 2 months is like, that would have been a dream for me. For me, it took years and years, and I missed out on so much Bitcoin because of it. And I'm sure we all have similar stories like that. But it's painful to think that I thought I was holding so much value when I really was holding next to none.
But remember, I was doing the same thing with precious metals.
Mm.
I just didn't switch it over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think, even precious metals seems like a tier above S coins, because like at least there's a level of scarcity. Like I now understand why a lot of people hoard gold and a lot of people flee to gold, because they see the store of value and they see that it's physical, and so it's an appeal to them. Especially as we see like the stock market, Trump tells China to basically get out of our stock market. Stock market starts to go down, people flee to gold. And so I just think it's a really cool way to show that Bitcoin is better than gold. So therefore, it's going to be a bigger money vacuum than gold. And so if we're competing with gold at this point, then you chuck a 10x on Bitcoin, and that's similar to gold. And I just think that's so doable. Do you think we're going to see Bitcoin pass these other assets by market cap? Initially, the Magnificent Seven, which is what it's doing right now. And then do you see a world where Bitcoin has a higher market cap than gold?
Yeah. Obviously the gold one's going to take a while, but Bitcoin is a black hole. It's going to suck everything in. And when I wake up every single day, man, I'm just looking at this price and I'm going, wow, nobody knows about it. You know what I mean? There's a very few people that do know about it. And the big boys that do understand it, they're buying as much as they can. And sometimes it's on a need to know basis. Most of the time it is, not all the time, because a lot of the big boys say, oh, these big companies are only going to buy it if they need it. Yeah, for right now, but I think in the future, I think they're definitely going to start buying it, because again, there is no second best. It is the best store of value, and it's just going to be the future money. So do I think it's going to surpass the Magnificent Seven? Absolutely. And I think it's going to do that through marketing and other companies being involved, like a MicroStrategy getting into the I think they're in the Russell 2000 now. I believe I just saw that yesterday. But them getting in the S&P 500, basically everybody that has diversified portfolio or an S&P 500, they're going to be by default having Bitcoin on their balance sheet because of MicroStrategy. But they're definitely going to buy all these companies. Apple, all of them are going to buy it. They're going to put it on their balance sheet, and if they don't, they're going to be left behind, because this is the new system, right? And once people get the education and understand this, and they dedicate departments and people to this of studying it, and realize like, well, wait a minute, the numbers don't lie. They can ignore it all they want, but once they see big companies getting in, once they see the actual CAGR, the 40 to 80% or whatever it is, and where it's gonna be, they're gonna rush into it. And when they do, it's going to be lights out. And especially when we pass this Bitcoin Act. Again, I don't know when it's going to be. I'm not in a rush for it, to be honest with you. I do want it, but I'm not in a rush for it, because obviously I want cheaper sats. But once the U.S. government and these nation states are buying these companies that are in the top market cap, will definitely do it. And then once the United States are not only trying to be the number one Bitcoin holder, but buying Bitcoin and holding it in the millions, let's just say gold is going to be left in the dust. I think it's going to be a lot quicker than people think.
Yeah, I like the idea that everything's like a melting ice cube. And I think gold's going to take a lot longer to melt, and potentially, need a bit more of a sun to melt it. But Bitcoin's going to be that sun. And I think it's going to be
Because
you go.
because gold, sorry to interrupt you, Joey, because gold, and I forgot to mention this, because gold their market cap is going to increase, right? It's just going to increase at a slower rate than Bitcoin, right? Because gold is, everybody knows it. People are going to put it on their balance sheet. If you watch videos, either conservative videos or any kind of SHTF video or whatever, they're all promoting gold. But eventually, slowly but surely, when people start understanding Bitcoin, it's going to, encapsulate most of the market cap. But in compared to the fiat dollars, gold is market cap is going to increase, but when you compare it to Bitcoin and you shrink it down, Bitcoin is definitely, when you price it into Bitcoin, is going to surpass gold quicker than we think.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see like gold go down to 2 trillion and then Bitcoin up to 20. Like that's not really how it works. If there's that many dollars getting printed into the system, then everything will sort of continue to go up, but Bitcoin's going to eventually outpace everything. So even with gold going up over time, but Bitcoin's eventually going to pass it, that's just going to be by how much it's growing compared to gold. We might see gold trickle slightly down when it gets to that point of passing. Maybe this is when they really do become competitors one to one. And then maybe that's when we see it as a money vacuum from gold being like, all right, I'm actually going to take some of your market cap. I'm not just going to take printed dollars. I'm actually going to eat into your asset, eat into every asset. For you personally, so this is sort of going back to what we were talking about before, but you personally, in what ways does Bitcoin give you hope for the future compared to before Bitcoin?
Wow, that's a good question, man. It gave me the same hope that I thought gold and silver was going to give me. It's not just about the number go up for me; it's the freedom go up. Technology, it is, and when you really think about what freedom is and what people are lacking in that freedom aspect of their life, being a debt slave to, coming out of college, getting debt, and then being a slave to the job because you have to pay your debt and you have to pay your bills. Also being a slave to the money printer because no matter how hard you work, you're running on a hamster wheel. And, it's evil because, a lot of these people think that we're stupid and we don't understand. So people like us that are making these videos are trying to wake these people up. And unfortunately, no matter what, in the short term, it's just really nothing to beat inflation right now, nothing to beat the money printer. But Bitcoin and Satoshi is going to be the way to do that in the near to the long term future. And what it's going to do is just going to crack the system and it's going to break the system and start a new one. We're a debtor nation. We're in $37 trillion in debt. We spend 7 trillion. We only make five. And unfortunately, last week or the week before, whenever it was, when we attacked that country and blew up their nuclear stuff in that same week, that was a great thing, great military thing and all this other stuff. But a few days before that, we went over 37 trillion in debt. So what's that telling you? If we got the best military and we have the highest debt, that means the money's broken and we can spend on whatever we want because we're putting our nation and our people's savings in decline, and they don't even understand that. So what Bitcoin does for me, it gives me hope for my children and my grandchildren. It's going to take, I believe, a couple of decades, but my goal is simple. I want every single US dollar, the new US dollar, not this dollar, to be backed by a Satoshi. So once the Bitcoin Act is put up, I want the United States of America to get and acquire and hold and be very transparent with how many Satoshis we have to get as many as we can. And we'll back a digital dollar to that. And what that's going to do is simple. It's going to stop inflation. It's going to pay off the national debt. And people will be able to earn in a fair wage. Their prices for everything will go down and they'll live in a deflationary world. And it'll be a good world. It'll be a completely different one than we'll live in now. And they'll be looking back at us like, what were we doing? Printing a bunch of dollars and everything else. And people will understand and be fully aware of what true scarcity is. So for the future, again, it may take a decade or two to get to the point where I want to. Um, but it definitely gives me hope and good thoughts for the future.
Yeah, it's interesting, like with all these perspectives on money and things that I never learnt through school, and I sort of mentioned it in other conversations. But these are things that we're not taught. These are things that are deliberately hidden from us, avoided, topics that people don't want to know. They really, really push for people to go straight into a course at college or uni, as we call it here, and just go for it. Like, oh, if you're really not sure what you want to do, just join because, the debt's not this big or whatever. And then you can change, but that debt still remains. And so I think that people are constantly, what I've seen young people do, they join university, they do 1 year, and then they go, I hate this. I'm going to go try something else. I'll go do that for a year. Oh, I hate this. I'm going to go join something else. Next thing you know, they don't even realize they've accumulated like $100,000 worth of debt. And this is money that's hard to pay back. And then they'll say, oh, don't worry. You don't have to. So what happens over here, it's called hex debt. Oh, don't worry. If you don't reach a certain bracket of income, then you won't have to pay it off. And so then it encourages young people to avoid exceeding that bracket. So if it encourages people to stay below it and they think they're outplaying the system. And I'm like, that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to be a debt slave. So if you're going to avoid paying that debt by never increasing your wage, never increasing your output to the world and profitability, then that's exactly what they want. They do not want you to exceed, get that debt cleared, and then excel. They want everyone to stay as low as possible. And then they can just change the rules of hex debt as time goes on. So it used to die with you. If you had the hex debt, if you die, don't worry, it's all cleared. Now it's getting carried on to your ancestors. Now it's carrying on to the next generation. So imagine if we continue on this wheel, eventually little, Jimmy John comes through and he has freaking $500,000 of debt and he's not even born yet. Like, this is criminal. Like, we are literally borrowing from the future, robbing the people yet to come. And that is just the worst type of robbery, like robbing from the future, not even robbing from the people now. Like, and it hurts the people now and the people from the future. So can you sort of explain maybe that concept on how it's the best, it's the closest form of time travel we have? Like, I don't know if you've heard that from Jack Mollers, but stealing from the future, man, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that, man. Again, I'm all about them satoshis. I have a series called Satoshi Saturday that I make every single Saturday where I touch on this stuff. That today I haven't checked the price today, but you can get 900 and something satoshis for $1 today. I mean, I don't know if everybody completely understand that, because in the future, like Joey was saying, in the future, 900 Satoshi is going to buy a lot more than it does today. Now, it depends on when it's going to be, but when you buy Satoshis today, you are getting ready for your future. You are buying the purchasing power um, of somebody working a month for $1 today. And it's just, again, I look at this and I don't even care about the price. I just look at these Satoshis, and I don't think the game starts until we hit $1 million Bitcoin. And at that point, you'll still be able to get 100 units of this finite money for $1. But today you can get for 900 something dollars. So again, I'm 900 something Satoshi for $1. So again, the future for me looks bright. I love the fact that today I can work the same amount of hours that I can work in 10 years, but I can get so many more of the future money than I can in the future. And I tell everybody, stack Satoshis today so that you and your family don't have to work for those exact same Satoshis tomorrow, because that's what's going to happen. People are not going to be able to trade these dollars, once people understand the game and they pull back the curtain like the Wizard of Oz, and they see what's going on, and they know that these dollars are not money, they're currency, and they're being printed left and right. And when they see the real digital money, because again, we're about 92, 95% digital anyways, while money's concerned, when they understand that the dollars are not backed by gold, because a lot of people think it is, it's only backed by confidence in the military and what you believe and what they told you. When they see this true system that you can get this many units of the dollars that you could today versus what they're going to be in the future, um, you know, I just imagine, like, my grandson, he's 3 years old right now. When he's my age, this is why I love making these videos. When he's my age, 47 years from now, what is 900 Satoshis going to be for him in 47 years? And that cost me $1 today. So I tell everybody, the future is bright. Don't worry about what the dollars say, what your Satoshis are. Just look at your Satoshis like US dollars right now. And I'm telling you, in the future, they'll be even worth more than that, because they're printing off millions of dollars in the United States and all over the world. And again, if I gave you, a million Satoshis today, what percentage of the money supply do you own? Right? You know it, because there's only 2.1 quadrillion or whatever. You can take that number and blah, blah, blah. But if you had a million $1 bills, or 1 million US cuck bucks, I like to call them, um, what percentage of the money supply do you own? And what is it going to be worth to you in the future? 10 years from now, $1 million is not going to buy you that much. A million Satoshis 10 years from now, I'm not saying it'll match the $1 million. Eventually it'll pass it. In the future, the US dollars, is the purchasing power is going to go down, and the Satoshis purchasing power is going up. So again, man, buy your future today. Get as many Satoshis as you can. And I'm telling you, the future will be so much better when you become a Satoshi millionaire and you have as many Satoshis as you can to buy whatever you want, and make sure your generations to come are straight and good.
Yeah, I think especially millionaires, like I've got a few rich relatives and a few rich friends, and they just sort of see in their head, they're like, oh, I could probably get around buying one Bitcoin just in case it really takes off. One, it's already taken off. But they see, oh, there's 21 million coins though. Like one is nothing. And I'm like, yeah, but if you have $1 million, there's $900 trillion worth of things in the world. So your percentage is so much smaller when you're holding cash. So if you can find something that's scarce, you want to own as much of that supply as possible. And everyone has the ability right now to opt in and get a fair chunk. So even what we were just saying there, 0.01 Bitcoin, or like we like to say, 1 million satoshis, is extremely rare and scarce to get even right now. But imagine what it's going to be in the future. If it's affordable now, it will not be affordable later. So this is what's happening. 1 Bitcoin was affordable, no longer. 0.1 Bitcoin was affordable. That's getting harder for people. Then 0.01 still affordable for most people in the Western culture, but it's getting more and more expensive. Like eventually, people won't want to pay $1,000. People, sorry, they will pay 1,000, but they won't pay 10,000. They won't pay $100,000 for 0.01. So these prices will continue to get away from us. The satoshis will increase in value. Get as many satoshis as possible. Like Jerry always focuses on satoshis, not Bitcoin as a unit of account, because Bitcoin is just this measurement to deal with bigger amounts. So don't confuse yourself that you have to get to 1, because in reality, you could get as many satoshis as you can, and that's still going to get the increase as Bitcoin goes up. So, you know, Bitcoin goes up 50%, whatever you're holding goes up 50%. Do not stress that you don't have a whole coin. Like this is just, at this point, it's basic math, but a lot of people just get confused with the unit bias, think that they have to hold multiple coins, but that's just not reality. Like I don't hold a whole coin, but I still feel as though I'm a Satoshi millionaire and I have significant wealth projected into the future. It's, you know, it's not much right now in fiat dollars, but what's it going to be in the future? Who knows? Like it'll be interesting to see. Like I just think at this rate, if Bitcoin does continue and there's not this absolute world-ending event, then in 5 years, 10 years, suddenly I'll have huge amounts of purchasing power. And so I'll pass everyone in my age that's holding in dollars. I'll pass people that are older than me. I'll pass people that have been working for 40 years. And that's not me having confidence or being cocky. Well, it is confidence, but it's just the reality. If Bitcoin continues at this rate, that's just projected. You can project that into the future. You can chuck 10%, 20%, 30%. Eventually it passes fiat dollars in all areas. And so it doesn't really matter if you've built up, you know, a $1 million retirement fund. If they're only allowing you to leak that out in through your retirement, so they don't want you just withdrawing $1 million, otherwise it's taxed huge. So they're deliberately setting it up that you have to leak it out slowly and there's taxes along the way. It's because they're trying to give themselves time to print away your dollars. So they are trying to create enough time for them to just quickly print as much as they can, make yours worth as less as possible so that you don't just dump it, withdraw all the cash and be extremely rich and benefit from all your hard work. They are trying to drag it out as long as possible, print as much as possible, make the dollar worth as less as possible, because they don't want all these boomers dumping all their assets right now, dumping the entire market. They want people to slowly leak it out so they can actually be quick with this, you know, print 40, 50% of the money supply in a few years with COVID. I think COVID was a very good excuse to print money, and so is wars and other things. But yeah, it's unfortunate that we take advantage of things like that. And yeah, it's just, it's so corrupt, Jerry. I like,
It's so corrupt.
yeah. Can you sort of go into the freedom aspect of Bitcoin? Like, I know we talked about it briefly, but I love this idea that you really do see freedom with your money, but freedom with your money is also just freedom personally. So go into that.
I love it. You know, there's trade-offs. There's not any perfect solutions. There are always just trade-offs. So, you know, when someone asks me, you know, why are you so secure with Bitcoin? Because if you send it to someone and you send it to the wrong person, you know, you're not going to get your money back. There's no customer service. There's no this and that. And that's true, right? But I will take that, the quote unquote security, over freedom, because you can't be secure and free at the same time, right? You have to give up one for the other. Like if you look at security, like what's the most secure place on earth? Probably a prison, and you're stuck in solitary confinement, right? That's good, but how much freedom do you have, right? When you're at a quote unquote safe, secure job, how much freedom do you have? Not much, right? But when you're free, you got to do your own security. You can't worry about anybody else doing that for you. So for me personally, when I know I can take my money anytime and anywhere that I want to with just memorizing, if I had to now, if I had to memorize 12 words in my head and have a brain wallet in my head, I can. The reason I love Bitcoin is because it's everywhere but nowhere at the same time. It's just incredible, right? I can have it with me at all times, but never have it with me because no one knows I have it. It's not on me physically. Nothing's written down. I don't have something in my pocket. I can literally break my cold card, move out. I can sell all my stuff in my house, put it all in Bitcoin into cold storage, break my cold card just in case somebody sees it at the airport or something like that. Have my words memorized. Go to Costa Rica or Thailand or whatever, and then buy another cold card or Blockstream Jade or whatever and plug it in and have my money. I mean, can you imagine all these countries that were tyrannical or third world or whatever? All these people that had to try to move all their assets, their physical assets, whether it's gold, cash, or whatever, they can't put in the bank because their banks are frozen. They can't do anything. But can you imagine people from Ukraine or anything like that having the ability to have a brain wallet and have Bitcoin? That is the ultimate freedom, man. And for me, when I think about that and I see that, I'm like, wow, man, this is incredible, man. This is like, oh my gosh. Like again, people say, oh, well, what about Venmo? What about PayPal? That's not your money. That's a company owning it. You know, like if I zap somebody's sats and it goes to them real quick, I say, you see how fast that is? They go, yeah, but when you send me Cash App, it's the same way. Yeah, that's true. But the problem is there's a middleman in there. You know, this is the first money ever that's peer to peer, electronically, digitally over the internet. The internet had everything except money, and now we have it. So the freedom to all you have to do is not even have a computer, just have a little small cell phone or something like that. That you can have the ability to plug into the internet and have the freedom to have all your wealth everywhere and nowhere at the same time. That, in my opinion, is the ultimate freedom.
Yeah, I'll attempt to do this online, guys, but I'll attempt to send Jerry a little zap of sats right now just for you guys to see how quick it is. He's in Las Vegas. I'm in Australia right now. I'll type his address in right now. I'll put a
Well, let me
little
turn my phone back on. Hold on, I had it off.
I'll put a little message, 1,000 sats for you, my boy. Alrighty. I'm going to click confirm, and this is going to go over the Lightning Network straight to Jerry in Las Vegas. See how quick it goes. I've just sent it. It should be coming in.
Boom,
Boom.
right there,
That's how fast.
right at the top,
Crazy.
right there. Got it.
So there you go.
You didn't even finish your sentence, bro.
Yeah, I just said 1,000 sats. Call it a day, bro.
Wow, thank you, man. Thank you so much, brother.
So, guys, I just
That's
sent
crazy.
him 1,000 sats, which is only about $1 US. But that's crazy. Like, I sent that to him instantly. And so he can do whatever he wants with that. I didn't have to use PayPal. I didn't have to go through YouTube. I didn't have to go through anything. I literally sent him value for value. I can send him later and say, hey, Jerry, thanks for the show today. I really appreciate it. Instead of trying to send him $10 US, take all these transaction fees and all this bull crap, boom, here's some satoshis straight away. So he can do whatever he wants with that now. And that's awesome, man. And I count that as a tip. So you're not getting taxed on that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Can you sort of go into, I know now we've covered freedom, but the decentralization part of Bitcoin is something that I didn't even understand until I really went all in on it. I didn't understand because people even talked about Ethereum being decentralized or Cardano being decentralized. And it's like, I don't think those things are decentralized. I think they are tied to one entity and they can say whatever they want and they can disperse maybe the company in some form. So it's not all just centralized. But to me, true decentralization is having someone give a gift to the world, essentially, not take a huge part of their supply. Satoshi actually coming in going, boom, I'm dropping this off and I'm leaving. Like, good luck. Let's see what happens. And it takes off. So I think now that he has no control, he could dump 1 million Bitcoin today, but it doesn't change the fundamentals of Bitcoin. The node is backed by 20,000 plus public nodes, and then who knows how many private nodes. There's literally nodes in space now on satellites verifying the transactions, verifying the supply. And so even if Satoshi, went crazy, maybe he's on drugs or something, decides to take down Bitcoin, he can't. So if it can't be verified, it can't be genuine transactions, then it all just gets thrown out. So can you sort of just explain decentralization, the verifiability of Bitcoin and sort of that aspect of things?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about it. It's not a one point of failure, right? A single point of failure. And when you look at the word, the key word is central, right? Is a central point. And obviously, Bitcoin is not like that because, like you eloquently said, we have nodes all over the place, and nodes are the things that verify the transaction. It's just um, a computer where it has all the blocks on that's downloaded, usually the full nodes from January 3rd, 2009 up until today, but they verify all the transactions and they're all over the place and they make sure that you can't stop it. Like you can take out, like you said, there's 20,000 nodes online. You could take out 19,999. But as long as we got one and then we can get another one, we get another one, there's not a single point of failure. So I absolutely love that. I love the fact that you can hold your own Bitcoin and no one can tell you anything, right? You can hold it. There's no central bank saying, "Hey, you got to keep it here, you got to keep it there." You just put it in cold storage and nobody can stop it. But the decentralization of Bitcoin is going to be something that people are going to study in the future. They're gonna be like, wait a minute, how do people that just bought Bitcoin, not miners, they just bought Bitcoin, but then they just did a Raspberry Pi or they did a Start Nine, they just downloaded the whole blockchain, and all of a sudden they can verify their own transactions? Because again, we don't have to trust anybody. We verified ourselves. And you're not a true Bitcoiner. And again, if you're not up to this point, don't worry about it. You can get there if you don't run your own node. You have to run your own node, guys, to make sure that we stay decentralized. And also, you're being a sovereign individual, and also you verify your own transactions, because if you don't, if you send your Bitcoin on the layer one, not how he just did me with the with Lightning, but on layer one, and you send that over, that means you're trusting someone else to verify that transaction. You don't want to do that, so it keeps it decentralized. I love it, love it, love it the way it is. Nodes just all over the world, like you said, in satellite, not a one point of failure. We're getting up brand new nodes all day. And again, with the Bitcoin Core stuff and the Bitcoin not stuff, Bitcoin Core kind of going rogue and everything else, and that pretty much just came standard with the with the Bitcoin node situation when you bought a Start Nine, that you had to go Bitcoin Core. But since they went rogue and they were quote unquote Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, the nodes ran off that, people said, you know what, let's try another one. Let's do knots. And that just shows the decentralization of it. It's not just centralized into one company like Bitcoin Core was when they went rogue. Not said, you know what, we're going to download Knots and we're going to do our thing. And that shows that we're not decentralized. So again, Bitcoin, when you hear other companies saying, oh, this is decentralized and that decentralized, just look at how many points of failure they have. And they have more than one, and they have several different points of failure. There's a bunch of things spread out, then they're decentralized, but if they have one point of failure, then they're not centralized. So that's one key aspect that I love, absolutely love about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I love the idea of like even if all these nodes got wiped out on Earth, but then it's like the satellites in space still running the nodes, and they're probably connected to Elon Musk's freaking Wi-Fi, Starlink, and so it's just crazy now because even if you wiped out the physical things on our Earth, there's still things getting verified in space. So we've definitely come a long way in Bitcoin, and it's not just people in their basement now running nodes; it's literally worldwide movement. Yeah, you can buy things like that Start Nine, or you can build your own. So that's, if you're a computer nerd, go ahead, build your own. But for people like me, I just got to buy one. And currently with some of my cold storage, when you do cold storage, it can connect to a public node, or you can do your own private node to verify transactions, which is pretty cool. Like, to verify your own transactions, something we've never seen before. We've always relied on banks. We've always relied on a third party. We've always relied on Visa, MasterCard, all these people. So to verify your own transactions is a crazy concept, but it's here now, which is nuts. It's just got to get yourself a node. And then if you are on these public nodes, like, yes, it is safe somewhat, but this is when you're now giving someone else a responsibility to verify your transactions. So they get to look into all your transactions, they get whatever data they need to verify that it's legit. But if there's some bad actors in that, it can get a bit messy. So not necessarily that all public nodes suspicious or anything. We've filtered out a lot of the bad actors, but it's best to just do it yourself. So this is the next step, guys. If you're getting cold storage, if you're off the exchanges, if you're starting to get a bit more familiar with things, Node is the next thing you got to look into. It's something that I need to build up in my own place. But yeah, I love the idea. I love the verifiability of of nodes and of Bitcoin and the whole network itself. Bitcoin isn't just this investment in this digital gold. It's like a network. It's like a protocol. I think it will go the same way as internet did, 3% global adoption all the way to 66% in like 20, 30 years. Bitcoin's heading that way. We're 16 years in. Suddenly we're up to 3% global adoption. Like, when does that go to 10%? When does that go to 20%? It's going to go quick. Do you sort of have a time frame on when that huge global spike will happen? Do you think that's in the next 5 years, or do you think this is something 10 plus years away?
It depends on what happens. I think about that quite often, and I've come to a couple different conclusions. Number one is when I look at when you do comps, right? Comparisons, the only thing you can compare it to, honestly, the best comp is, like you said, the internet. And when you look at the internet and you see that adoption curve, that S curve go up, like you said, from 3 to 66%, it took a while. The difference is, though, the marketing is different for Bitcoin because I believe more people knew about Bitcoin than they did the internet back then in the 90s. And the reason being is the internet didn't have the internet, and Bitcoin has the internet. So that's one of the things that it has. Um, there's a lot of variables that go into that. I can guess, but there's so many different variables. I try to take a long term view of it. Again, of course, I'm 50 years old. Of course, I want it to go to 5 years, but I have to be honest. I have to be cautious, and I have to look long term and have a low time preference. So if I had to guess, and I put all my numbers into it and stuff like that, I think the marketing of when we hit $1 million, which again, if we keep going the way we're going, it should be in the next epoch, in Epoch 6, because again, we always add 1 0 to every epoch, right? We had $10, then $100, then 1,000, then 10,000, and now we're at six figures. So the next epoch, Epoch 6, should be $1 million, and if we do that, then I think the marketing is going to go crazy, and I think we're going to price everything in satoshis, and in between that and the United States buying, gobbling it up, and just more and more people talking about it, then us getting down to the last 1% being in the Bitcoin gold rush. I think it can happen quicker than we think. I think um, global adoption could happen by probably 2040, between 2035 and 2040. And what I mean by global adoption, I mean everybody. You can go to 70% or more places and spend satoshis. And then there's a few countries that are going to have a Bitcoin backed dollar or Bitcoin standard. I think there's going to be way more countries than El Salvador. And again, even like El Salvador on steroids, I think it'll happen between 2035 and 2040.
Yeah, I think even to see from like one publicly traded company, Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, in like 2020, 2021, go. So there's one company, 4 or 5 years later, it's 100 plus companies. At what point is it 1,000? And then what point is it every country ever as well, not just company? I think that will come surprisingly quick. And I think 2040 is quick. I think a lot of people that think, oh, bro, I want this to happen next year. It's like, it could, like Bitcoin could do something crazy like that because it's growing extremely rapidly. Like, it could just do a 10x tomorrow. And, we can go back and forth whether that's possible or not. But the reality is this thing can move super, super quick. So you got to be prepared at all times, but also understand that these things take time because human nature does come into play here. So we can look into Bitcoin's math. We can look into how it's a supply squeeze and scarcity and everything. But this thing has to grow organically because it doesn't have a marketing team. It doesn't have what other cryptos have. It doesn't have, and so it doesn't have all those things. It doesn't have all those things, and it's still a $2 trillion asset. It's still 100. Well, for over here, it's $160,000 today. But I think up until $1 million, yes, publicly traded companies and countries will move the needle, but retail, they're looking for that $1 million Bitcoin. So when I tell my friends, hey, because they go, oh, how's your money today, up or down? Like that's the constant joke. And I'm like, up. And it's just like, I'm like, do you realize Bitcoin is now, well, today it's $165,000 Bitcoin today. And do you remember when I was telling you when it was $25,000? They're like, yeah, but did you buy one? I'm like, that doesn't matter what I did personally. The point is, if you had bought one there, you were chilling like 4, 5, 6x and that's like 3-4 years. So I'm like, unfortunately, until they see my life dramatically improve, like when I spend some satoshis, until then they're not going to believe it. So people have to see things physically. They have to see someone change because of Bitcoin to believe it's worth something. And I can shove as much evidence and have those discussions and hit them with all the facts, but until that point, they're like, oh, you're just as well off as me and I'm holding cash. So like, it's really not changing your life or anything. It's just a speculative gamble. It's just funny because as humans, even with that growth, $2 trillion asset, $165,000 Bitcoin, it means nothing to them, or it's other complete ignorance. It's just like, there really was something there, but I'm not going to, admit I was wrong and hop on. I'm just going to keep holding dollars. And like the same people that I'm having discussions with that were never into investing or anything until I'd mentioned Bitcoin, are now buying things like the S&P 500. And I'm like, you were never going to invest until I talked to you about it. And you're buying the S&P 500. Like, are you serious? Like, did I not tell you that's not even true investing anymore? Like, that's falling off a cliff, man, rapidly against Bitcoin. So it's unfortunate. I think humans will take a while to break traditions, and that old saying, like the old guard has to die. And I think a lot of the old boomers and things either have to get it now or just have to pass this idea onto their kids, and their kids will get it. And so the people coming through now, we have an opportunity to, get ahead of the pack and buy as much as we can. And I think you got to be doing it. If you're, 18, 19, finishing school, really start to think how you can get as much of this as possible. And maybe don't rush into the college or uni thing where you absolutely hate it and you actually don't want to do that job, because there's a better future holding Bitcoin, saving Bitcoin, maybe working a pretty mediocre job for the next 4 or 5 years, stacking as hard as you can. And then maybe you can do something passionate because you have the Bitcoin and money backing you. So don't rush into things if you're 18, 19, 20, like understand that the future is bright. The future is hopeful. There is not a future of just debt that you have to accept. You can actually opt out of that system, join a new system. And yeah, just appreciate being young and youthful. And this is your chance to stack as hard as possible. Like, don't waste this opportunity because this thing moves quick. Don't decide that you're going to get into Bitcoin 4 years from now, because it's going to be one of the biggest regrets. Like, get in now, understand what you're holding, learn why you need to be stacking as much as possible, learn about its scarcity. Jerry, do you sort of you've built this community on Signal Group, you've built this people that rock up day in, day out for a 3-4 hour live stream. You obviously know how to attract people in to listen to you, to enjoy your company, to understand that although this is a serious topic, it's also good to just chat and enjoy life. Can you sort of go into a message for young people, a message for people coming through, something that you wish you had known, not just to buy Bitcoin, but what's like a life lesson or something you can give for young people coming through today? Because it's really unfortunate to see how, I'd say, sad the youth is, or how pessimistic the youth is going forward in this future today.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the young people, you guys were dealt a very, very bad hand. The debt keeps getting passed down to you, and the inflation is getting worse and worse for you. My grandparents, God rest their soul, they could live on one single income back then. And even me in my early days, it was difficult to live on one single income, but I could do it. But every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's getting tougher. And now when it comes down to you guys can't live on one income. You just can't, because the dollar is broken and the money's broken. But here's what I'll say to you. There is hope, right? You as a young person, you have to get up and you have to work every day. Work very, very hard. Okay. Find something that you're good at and you're passionate about, and work your ass off at it. Don't play games. I'm talking about video games and messing about and all that stuff, because I'm telling you, you don't have as much time as you think you do. Now, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just telling you, it goes by quick. I remember when I was this young man's age. It was a couple of days ago. And now I'm my age, right? It just goes by so fast. Next thing you know, you're going to be 21, then you're going to look up and you're going to be 25, and then you're going to be 30, and then you're like, wow, what did I do? Don't waste your time. That's why they call today a present, because it is a present, right? You have to focus on today every single day. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve it. right? So don't limit yourself and say, okay, what is it that I would really want? Not what your parents want, not what your friends and family want, not what your girlfriend wants. Figure out what it is that you want. And again, Bitcoin is a money and it will help you in the future. But at the end of the day, you have to provide value for people out here. Whether it's a good, whether it's a service, whether it's whatever you got, you have to do that. And the biggest thing is, in my personal opinion, is how you create value, because that's what you got to do in the marketplace, is figure out what people's problems are and what you're good at. And if you can have a solution to those problems, then you can create a lot of value in the marketplace. And that's what you need to do. But you got to focus and work hard. All right. Keep your head down and work your butt off. And never work harder at your job or college than you do yourself. Let me say that again. Never work harder at your job or at college. And there's nothing wrong with going to having a job or going to college, but all that stuff, you're writing notes down, you're being on time, on schedule. Do that with yourself. Whether it's going to the gym, whether it's working on your side hustle, whether it's buying Bitcoin, whether it's becoming a better person, building a business, whatever it is, work harder on that than you do at your college studies, university studies, or your job. Okay. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, let me leave it at this. Do all that stuff, but here's what it is with Bitcoin. You are young and you can be one of the richest people in the world and you can set your generations up to come. You're not too late to Bitcoin. Okay. Bitcoin is going to quote unquote go up in US dollars. Don't even look at it like that. But if you're there, let me just tell you why the three reasons why Bitcoin is going to go up in fiat currency. Number one is they print a lot of dollars, whatever country in Australia, the UK, America, they're always going to print US dollars, which means what? The more they print, the less value that your dollars have now, and it's going to buy you less, right? That's number one. Number two, with Bitcoin, Bitcoin is the antithesis of that, the complete opposite. They're not printing Bitcoin. You have to mine it and you have to do proof of work. So every single 10 minutes, just about, the block subsidy is about 3.125 Bitcoin. Okay. Now you can learn about this later, but every 10 minutes that comes out, okay, in this 4-year cycle, okay, it's called a epoch, or every 4 years we have, okay. A year and a half ago, or something like that. We're in Epoch 4. It was in Epoch 5 now. It was 6.25 Bitcoin coming out every 10 minutes, right? But the Bitcoin has doubled in price. So back then it was in the 30s and $40,000 range, 20,000, whatever, and went up to 50 and stuff, 69 and stuff like that. But now it's 107,000. What do you think it's going to do in Epoch 6 when the 3.125 Bitcoin subsidy that comes out every 10 minutes gets cut in half to 1.56, whatever it is? The price is going to go exponentially up. Okay. So one is the fiat currency, they print more of it. The Bitcoin or satoshis, they cut it in half, the supply goes in half. And number three, the supply is going to go down, like number two, and the fiat supply is going up. But right in the middle is the demand for Bitcoin is going up. Okay. So they're printing more dollars, they're printing less Bitcoin, mining less Bitcoin, but right in the middle with that supply or demand curve, because again, you have a lever, supply and demand, the demand is going to go up. Why do I say that? Because it's a network effect. It's almost like a McDonald's or a big, company that has all these different people. It's like a union. The more people that are getting involved, the more people are going to come in. Like me, I don't know how many people I quote unquote orange pilled, meaning I got into the network or joined our union or something like that. But every single new person that comes in, Joey makes YouTube videos, I make YouTube videos, other people do. They're coming and they're sucking people into the network and into the union. So what's that going to happen? That means the demand's going to go up because more people are getting involved. There are, I don't know how many people joining Bitcoin every single day, eating up this small and smaller supply of what we talked about every 4 years is going down. You got nation states buying, you got companies buying, you got millionaires, billionaires, decamillionaires. All these people are coming in. So again, do what I said about thinking about today, focusing on the present because it's going by fast. Work your butt off, and you're not too late to Bitcoin. Here's what I'll tell you: if you don't have Bitcoin at all, right? Smash by 1 million satoshis today. Become a satoshi millionaire today. All right. And I'm telling you, you won't regret it. I was telling people this in 2023, at the end of 2023, September, which is about 20 months ago. Bitcoin's price was 226,000 something dollars. So a million satoshis 20 months ago was 269 bucks. Today, that same million, 20 months later, is 1,000 something bucks. It 4x'd. Okay, 4x'd. if you wait, like Joey said, and you wait 2 and 4 years, that same million satoshis, because one day I'm gonna still be saying this when Bitcoin is 850,000, I'm gonna tell people, hey, it's only $8,500 today to buy a million satoshis, which still is a good deal, but it's a better deal to get it at 1,000. Okay, so work your butt off. Know the 3 reasons why Bitcoin's going up. The supply of dollars is going up. The supply of Bitcoin is going down every 4 years, and the demand for Bitcoin is going up. Become a Satoshi millionaire today and join our network and join our union. And I'm telling you, you will not regret it. And then get your 100 hours of studying once you smash by 1 million Satoshis.
Hell yeah, brother. That was a damn good speech you got there. That's up there with the legends. Okay, young people, just before we head out, like, you have a chance to be different to everyone else. Like, you have a chance to break the mold. You have a chance not to just be a sheep. And I think this is your chance. I think you can choose to be like all your friends and your family around you, but you have one chance at this. And so you have a chance to not only become rich or whatever you want to call it, but actually have an opportunity to have financial security. Like what we went back to before, it used to be the man of the household, he would be the only one working in the family. The wife would stay home with the kids. That was the tradition we were built on. That goes all the way back down to the Bible times. Now, it's both parents have to work. This is not just if you want to be a woman and go career driven, whatever, that's your choice. But I feel like people are forced into it now. There's a lot of people that have to have both people working. And then what happens to the kids? Well, no one's at home looking after the kids. So they're shoved in daycare, childcare, full time. And now I know there's certain scenarios where those kids have to be in there. You know, there's single mothers and there's things, and there's also maybe they're in there a couple of days. But what we're seeing is now these kids are in there full time. I'm talking 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week almost, even on school holidays. Boom, they're still in there. And it's really, really sad because this is not what we want, like this is not, there's a reason that a lot of these traditional things existed and were so strong, and why family was so strong and divorce rate was so low and all these other things is because now we have the broken money come in. Suddenly every man his dog has to work 40, 50-hour weeks. This is not the life we want. You have to choose. Do you want that life and work till you're 65 and then they can adjust the retirement age to 66, 67, all the way to 70 and push it further and further away in the future? By the time you get there, you're just a bag of bones. Like, is that what you want? Because that's not what I want. So I chose to try something different. I looked into Bitcoin. It's completely changed my financial stability. It's completely changed my outlook on life. I'm now wanting to be a hustler and a grinder because I understand that my dollars aren't just something to spend and consume, but something to save for the future, provide for not only my wife, but my future kids. Like, I'm trying to build, generational wealth in some sense. And I'm not talking billions or trillions. I'm just talking about financial security, financial stability. For me, it's not about the Lamborghinis and the nice watches. Like, I think if you want to go do that, go buy XRP and all the cryptos and stuff, because maybe you have a chance of flipping $1 into $1 million. But you have to choose not to be like that, to constantly want to spend, to constantly want to consume. You have to save for the future, and Bitcoin allows you to do that. It's just money, but it's growing over time. It's not losing its value like fiat dollars. So you have a choice now whether to save in Bitcoin, save in dollars, hustle for Bitcoin or hustle for dollars, but your dollars just aren't going to get you where you want to be. So you have to choose Bitcoin. And before we sign off, can you just plug your community and your live streams? What goes on there? What's the purpose of your live streams, your channel going forward? And yeah, just see people are interested in coming over, man. So have a look and yeah, plug that now if you can.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. So, my name is Jerry Loves Freedom. That's the name of my channel. Monday through Thursday, I do a live stream. So it's 7 o'clock Eastern time. No, yeah, 7 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Pacific time, and I cover the the local stuff with Bitcoin, what's going on with Bitcoin and stuff like that. And then I have a wheel of Satoshi, and I put your name on that wheel, and every time a block is mined, I spin it, and then if your name lands on if it lands on your name, you win 100 satoshis. So I give away satoshis. We have fun. We joke around. I read all the comments. It's just a good time. You know what I mean? And you can win. And we cover, like I said, the news and stuff like that. But then on Fridays, I have what's called Fat Zap Fridays, and I start at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, and I give out double satoshis. And I go a little longer. Sometimes I go on Monday through Thursday. I go between 2 3 hours, but on Fridays I go like 5 hours sometimes, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun, and I give out a lot of satoshis. I also have a game called All or Nothing. So if you stay at the end of the game, I put 1,000 satoshis on the wheel, and if it lands on it, you can either pick your 100. If you land on your name, you can take your 100 or all or nothing and go for the 1,000 sats. And we just have a good time, and we have fun and stuff like that. And then on Saturdays, every Saturday, I do a Satoshi Saturday, and I've been doing that since February 10th, 2024. And I'm on episode number. I just did episode number 72, so 73 will be coming up. And I'm a Bitcoin maxi because I'm a freedom maxi, and I love freedom, and that's why I love Bitcoin. Again, I love Bitcoin and everything, and I don't love freedom because I love Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin because I love freedom. And so, if you're a freedom maximalist and you want to join our group, Joey's a very very good member of that. I have a group called the Bitcoiners for Freedom, and also on my show, I have a map of Google Maps, and I have everybody's name that's part of our group, and I put a little icon on there and your name in orange on the map. And if you want to join, you can just become a YouTube member, and you can join our Signal group, and you can have a private chat with Bitcoiners only. It's kind of Bitcoiners only. It's kind of like a Orange Pill app thing, except it's very very simple. You just have to be a YouTube member and everything else, and you can ask any kind of questions. If you want to sell some satoshis, I suggest don't sell them back to the exchange. You can sell them back to somebody else in our group. You have a question about nodes, you have a question about cold storages or anything kind of Bitcoin related, or just things that you want to talk about that you can't talk about with your normie friends. You can join not only Bitcoiners but people that love freedom and are good people. So I highly suggest you join our group. Come on in and subscribe to the channel and join the group, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Thanks, Jerry. We'll wrap it up there. I've got to go to work. You've got to start that live stream. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Go check out Jerry Loves Freedom on YouTube. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Stack sats.